Hey everyone, it's Carissa Wiley at sprinkledwithglitter.com. Thanks for joining me today. Today I am helping Hutson.com kick off their Summer of Stamping for 2022. This is a special event that runs all through July with brand new collaboration stamp sets, releases, and there's so much happening over there, so be sure to check it out. Today's release includes a brand new collaboration stamp set between Catherine Pooler, and it is exclusive to Hutson.com. There are coordinating dies available, and I'm going to be using this to create an interactive card today. Now, I wanted to show you that throughout this month, I'm going to be referring to this color palette a lot. And it was inspired by a color palette sent to me by my friend Heather Meeson. And I've kind of matched up some Copic colors that go along with these inks, as well as thrown in a little bit of Carissa-inspired pink. So I'm going to start out by grabbing the stamps in this stamp set. This is such a fun stamp set. It's called Float Your Boat, and I love that cruise ship. We're going to make an interactive card with that today. We're going to make a tilt and rock card, which is super easy to put together. And before I do that, I need to stamp all of my images and color them and die cut them. So I have a piece of smooth white cardstock here in my mini Misty. I have all my stamps kind of lined up, and I'm going to stamp them in some Gina K Obsidian Amalgam ink. And I'm going to double stamp these. So I'm going to stamp them once, and then I'll open up my mini Misty and I'll re-ink the stamps and then stamp them again. Now you're going to notice here that I am not using all of these stamped images on today's card project. I'm going to be sharing another card project here on my YouTube channel and my blog soon that features a lot of the other images that I'm stamping and coloring today. But I just kind of wanted to give you a look at this stamp set when it's all stamped out. I love that suitcase there on the top. The passport's adorable. That little polka dot camera. I mean, come on. Such cute images, and I absolutely love what Catherine Pooler did for this stamp set. So I'm not going to show you all of the coloring today because we would be here till next Thursday. And you have things to do, and I have things to do. But I'm just adding some simple Copic coloring with some Copic markers. I will have the colors linked over at my blog. So if you're looking for the specific colors, be sure to check there. Now, when I got to these smaller areas of the boat or the cruise ship, I really was having a hard time kind of getting into the small areas, even with my brush nib. And so I've been slowly working my way through my Copic marker collection and switching out the chisel nib for these fine nibs. Now, this means you will no longer have a chisel nib in your Copic marker. But I don't really use the chisel nib, and having these fine nibs on my Copic makes it much easier for me to get into tiny areas. So here's a look at the fine nib, and the end on my right hand side goes into the marker, and the end on the left hand side is the part that you color with. So I'm just going to push that nib into the marker, and then I am going to uncap both ends. Now I find that by uncapping both ends, I get a better flow of ink a little bit more quickly into this tip of the marker, so I can use it a little bit faster. And you're going to see as I uncap the brush nib, the ink from the barrel is going to start flowing into that fine nib. You see it there? It's starting to turn colors. So all I have to do is wait for that nib to kind of fill with ink, and then it's ready to go. This is really fast and easy to do, and I really have been enjoying these fine nibs on the Copic markers because, like I said, it just makes getting into those tiny areas much easier. So now that I have that fine nib on there, I'm going to finish coloring my cruise ship here in those little tiny windows on the front or the portholes. And through the magic of television, I have finished coloring all of my images, and now I'm ready to use the coordinating dies to die cut all of these. Now, I like to just color them all and die cut them all so that I have these images ready for future cards. So I'm just going to hold the dies in place with a little repositionable adhesive, run them through my Gemini Junior to die cut them out, and then I'm going to pop them out of the dies, and I have them ready to go. Now, I originally thought I would use that kind of wave pattern there up in the upper right hand corner along with my cruise ship. So you'll see that make an appearance throughout the video, and I actually didn't end up using it. So I'm going to create kind of a background for my cruise liner here, and I have a DIY stencil that I created. Now, if you have never seen a DIY stencil created, if you head to the previous video here on my YouTube channel, you will see how I create these using the Essentials by Ellen clear plastic and a basic shape die. They're so easy to create, and they're great for not only ink blending, but also like glitter gels and embossing pastes and all of that. So I'm creating a little blend here, and I am using Clay Mask, Apricot, and Ballet Slipper. And I am just kind of blending these colors together. It is super dreamy blend here. I love the kind of earthiness that the Clay Mask gives to this blend. But the Apricot and the Ballet Slipper blend together really beautifully if you've never tried that. And just bringing in a little bit of that Clay Mask at the top kind of deepens it up. So now that my card front's ready to go, I am going to pull out the Tilt and Rock die set from the Essentials by Ellen line. This is a die set that was released in last year's Summer of Stamping, and I'm going to get my pieces ready. So I kind of want to mark where I'm going to have the bottom of my cruise liner kind of line up on the card, and I'm going to take this little tiny circle die and I'm going to hold it in place where I want the bottom of my cruise ship. Then I'm going to take this long kind of popsicle looking stick type die, and I'm going to hold it onto a piece of heavyweight cardstock using some repositionable tape, and then I'm going to run those both through the die cut machine. So this little circle die leaves me with that little tiny circle on the front of my card, and now I have kind of my pendulum arm here that I'm going to use to attach my cruise ship and make it move. Now I wanted to make sure this arm was really nice and sturdy, so I die cut it twice, and I'm adhering these two layers together using some liquid glue. I'm just going to adhere them one on top of the other, and this is just to give this a little bit of weight to make sure that it doesn't bend too easily. Now on this die cut, there is a place that is marked with an X. And on that X, you're going to want to use a glue dot and attach a penny to that X. This penny is what gives the pendulum its weight and makes the cruise ship rock back and forth. I think this is such a fun idea for this cruise ship. And when I created it, I was just absolutely giddy. So now I have my pieces ready, and I can attach this arm through that hole on my card front using a mini brad. And I'm going to flip this over, and I'm going to open the arms of the brad, but I'm not going to like push them super tight against the card because I want this to be able to move. And you can see there, now I have this pendulum, and when I attach my cruise ship to that pendulum, it will kind of rock back and forth. Now, obviously you don't want to leave that exposed on your card front. So I'm going to work on a little kind of scene to cover that area on my card. So I'm just blending some Daydream ink from Catherine Pooler onto some white cardstock. I just started kind of heavier at the bottom and then lightened up as I worked up. And then I am grabbing this die from the Essentials by Ellen line. This is from the Waves die set. And I'm going to hold that in place on this ink blended panel, run that through my die cut machine, and now I have this little wave piece that I can put on the front of my card to cover up my pendulum. Now, as I mentioned before, I thought I would use these little waves from the stamp set, but when I put them here, all I could see was octopus arms. So I was like, I don't know. I just can't unsee it at this moment. I love the design of these waves, but when I put them around the boat like that, I just kind of felt like an octopus was trying to overtake my boat. So I left them off of my final card design. Now to attach this kind of scene area to the front of my card, I want to create some room for that penny to move. So I attached it onto my card front using a single layer of foam adhesive, but I ended up actually going back and adding a second layer of foam adhesive around the edge. Now you just want to make sure you're not putting your foam adhesive anywhere where it's going to impede the movement of your penny. So you saw me there, I kind of just put it around the outside edges of this wave piece that I created. Now, before I get everything adhered on, I want to just kind of check my placement, and then I want to go ahead and heat emboss my sentiment onto this ink blended area. So I am placing this panel into my MISTI. I have my sentiment stamp all lined up. I'm going to prep the surface of my card front with a powder tool, and then I'm going to stamp this sentiment stamp in some Versamark ink onto this inked area. And you'll notice that I kind of deconstructed my card here so that I can make sure I get a nice, clean, crisp stamped image for my sentiment here. And the thing about that pendulum arm being attached to the card front with a mini brad makes it really easy to kind of just take that apart really quick, stamp my sentiment, and then I'm going to add some white embossing powder, and I'm going to heat set that with my heat tool. Now the part I'm going to show you next, I regret doing it in this order. I'm just going to say that. Because I took this wave piece here and I added some stickles along the top, and I love the stickles along the top. But I had to wait for these stickles to dry to put everything together. And that drove me absolutely crazy. So I would recommend maybe putting this on your card front first, getting your card put together, finishing it off with the stickles, and then setting it aside to dry, because the stickles take a little while. Now, I ended up going to a meeting, coming back and finishing it up, but even still, I wish I would have done it in a different order. I'm just being honest here, okay? Sometimes I don't always think things through. Now, I also die cut a cloud from some vellum, and I added some stickles around the outside edge of that as well. This is from the Essential Clouds die set from the Essentials by Ellen line. And then I placed my cruise ship or my cruise liner where I thought it was going to end up, and I added some stickles kind of spraying out from the cruise ship as well, which I thought was a fun way to add a little more shimmer and shine to this card. Now for the windows on the cruise ship, I took my Tonic Aqua Shimmer pen and I added a little bit of shimmer to all of the windows there. I could have added some glossy accents as well, but let's be real, I was not in the mood to let something else dry. So I went ahead and reattached my pendulum arm using the mini brad. Once this was all dry, I added my wave piece there on with the foam adhesive, double layer of foam adhesive. And then I have a double layer of foam adhesive at the top of my pendulum arm here, and I'm going to remove the backer from that and attach my cruise ship die cut to that pendulum arm. And you're gonna see that is going to allow my boat to rock back and forth. Is that not the cutest thing ever? Now at this point, I only had one layer of foam adhesive on the wave piece on the front of my card. And I went back and added a second layer so that it would move more freely. Now it moves just fine, but I wanted it to move really well. So that second layer of foam adhesive behind my waves really helped that out. So I finished the card off by adding this card front to an A2 size card base. I added my little vellum cloud on there, and then I added some iridescent droplets. These are new from Pink Fresh Studio. I don't even think they're in the ellenhutson.com store yet, but if they are there, I will link them for you. And I just added those on with a little bit of liquid glue. And look at that. It is such an easy interactive card design to put together. And this boat was the perfect opportunity to use this fun interactive die set. So there you have it, a fun, interactive, easy card design. You could totally do this. I mean, it's that easy. As always, I will have links to the featured products used in this project in the description at YouTube, or you can head on over to my blog at sprinkledwithglitter.com. I'll have that linked below as well. Over there, you'll find more still shots, more information, a complete list of supplies, as well as some information on an Instagram hop that's happening today to celebrate and kick off the summer of stamping for ellenhutson.com. I cannot wait to show you what's in store. There is so much good stuff coming. I will have my Instagram linked below as well, so if you want to hop on over there directly from YouTube, you can. As always, thanks so much for stopping by and hanging out with me today. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you were inspired. If you did, give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notifications here on my YouTube channel so you don't miss any of my paper crafting and card making video tutorials shared here. Thanks again for watching, and until next time, I hope you have a fabulous day.